On this episode of The View from Jamestown, global production outages seem to be dictating headlines these days. We're seeing more FM letters than we have, I think, all of last year. Ocean freight continues to be a big concern, seeing a lot of supply disruptions for both those reasons. All that and more, plus a preview of the upcoming AFPM on The View from Jamestown. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 105. This is the March 2024 edition, and we got the full gang back this week. From my right to left, Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez, VP of Sales and Marketing AJ Petrarca, in real life, not the AI form today. Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg and TCC President Rob Roach. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, man.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Doing well.
Doing well. I was hoping that Zach could could replace me with an AI, version of myself, so I could be somewhere else. But I'm here.
Not yet. We're getting there.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Javi, you recovered from your weekend expedition?
Yes.
You're in good shape?
I'm in good shape. I feel like a human now.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm good. I'm back at it.
Tell us about your travels.
Well, I was in Mexico for a week and...
No, not that travel.
I went to a wedding in Panama.
There it is.
For a good friend of mine, my roommate in college.
Nice.
Haven't seen him in 10 years, so more, like
wow.
14 years. So I was there. The wedding was happy to be there and reconnect with a bunch of my friends from back in the school in Rhode Island, my old days.
You in your best behavior?
Not really, not really, but it was good. It was I'm back. I'm recharged.
Good.
I'm all pumped up to see them, and it's good to see all people, all friends. That's part of life, I think.
You came in Monday morning and you sound a little tired.
Yeah, it was a flight. The pressure, the airplane.
We were a little concerned for
a little dehydrated from flying.
Dehydrated from flying. That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah, usually.
But it was good. It was good. Panama was good, and I saw the canal. I saw a big line. It's called America's Bridge. Connects, and you saw a big line. You say this is horrible because
like line of vessels.
A line of vessels.
Yeah.
Wow. A line of vessels, like bad. I've seen it before, and you see 20, but you see like hundreds.
Really?
Wow.
So that's on the obviously Pacific
Yes,
side.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, both sides.
You could see both sides from there.
Yeah, both sides. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Both sides of that.
Inside joke. Idiot. They talk about the water levels. Like, do you notice like lower water levels because of where you are?
No, you have to see the clusters. You don't see it. But it's bad, and then there's no rain. So they're in some parts of the country they're limiting the power because the power plants are not getting enough. So in some places you have lighting. Power from this time to this time. They send you a note. This is when you have power. Yeah, it's bad.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Wow.
Colombia is very similar.
Really?
Ecuador, or the whole region with no rain is really bad.
Because this is summertime.
Yeah.
So it's obviously drier season.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Nice. Well, glad you're home in one piece.
Yeah, my wife is happy to see me.
I'm sure
in one piece too. So it's good.
Sure.
It was a really good time. It was they have a carajillo station. I love carajillo. They had a carajillo.
I do love a good carajillo.
Sponsored by Liquor 43. It was a fancy wedding. It was one of the fanciest weddings I've ever been.
Big wedding?
No, for Latin American standards, 200 is a small wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, for Latin American standards, yeah. Because his brother got married before, and he was like 500 people.
Oh my gosh.
So
I don't even know 500 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to invite the whole society.
Everybody from the
Fernandez
village.
from Peru, the Motas from Panama, all the families.
Crazy.
It's crazy. It's a different world. And I'm glad to be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're home.
Yes. Thank you for the welcome back.
Of course. Coco, how's things going here these days as we're drinking some water? You've been out flying.
She's been flying too.
Everyone's very dehydrated. This episode's sponsored by Pedialyte.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's been busy. It's been really busy. Was in Florida visiting family for vacation, and then customers and supplier visits and stuff all throughout the Northeast. So yeah, it's been a busy start to the year.
Yeah, very much so. Rob, how are you?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, so we're recording this on March 6th, so we're good. We're in January and February. Have January and February behind us. Seems like things, I think, as a whole are continue to be pretty busy in general. I think as I'm sure we'll talk about a bit. The supply side of things is certainly impacting pricing and availability. It's not so much a massive uptick in demand, it seems, but a lot of FM letters these days.
Oof, yeah, a bunch of FM letters.
Things are getting exciting.
Yeah, I thrive in those environments. That's when I shine.
Yeah.
Javi was all excited yesterday, saying that he's like, "Ooh." It's like
but yeah, it's a time that I think TCC as a company, and especially yourself with connections everywhere, can really shine. Obviously, we put a big focus on security supplies, so times like these we can reach out to contacts in various parts of the world and different regions to fill gaps in supply when you see some of these FMs. So I'm sure you've been a popular guy here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, last couple of weeks have been busy, and it's been fun. Good run.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff, a lot of delays too. Shipping in some parts of the world the supply is tight, so we're working on it.
Yep. And obviously, the FMs have been a big deal, and a lot of upstream raw materials that we have to kind of navigate how much it's going to impact our direct products. Obviously the Ineos one's been a big one. There's a recent OQ one. Lyondell has an FM going on, so a lot of supply disruptions out there these days. I'm sure
kind of surprising, yeah. But at the same time, it's not. There's very, very big capacities out there, and when there's an interruption, it's a global interruption. So, it's more unfortunate events that have taken place. Ineos, for example, was a supply outage or energy supply. OQ had an explosion. Fortunately, nobody was killed. Some of these things are happening, within the value chain. The acetic went down yesterday for Lyondell. Yeah, so their whole system went down. So, it's, the impacts are immediate.
Yep. Yeah, it's always amazing how stuff trickles down. You hear about the Ineos FM, for example, which impacts TMA, and then all of a sudden you get some customers coming out of the woodworks that maybe haven't bought things like TOTM for a while that are now all of a sudden interested. So it's always amazing seeing how things kind of fluctuate, and then obviously Javi shines trying to source things from various places. So.
Yeah, and Polent shut down their TMA production because the Chinese costs were just so low, or what they were offering for sale was so low. So there's been rationalization that's now, we talk a lot about rationalization. That rationalization is impacting now supply, because you only really have Chinese or, the Ineos product available domestically. And of course, Chinese, Javi's point about Panama Canal, supply chain, cost of shipping, all that is coming into play here. So extremely tight times.
Oh, what?
We're back.
Awesome.
It took 105 episodes to lose power in the middle of an episode, but here we are.
Never a dull moment.
Never. But yeah, so as we were saying, there's, obviously I think that'll be a continued conversation. Obviously we're coming up on things like AFPM, which we see a lot of these folks at. So I'm sure there'll be a hot topic at AFPM with, the outlook for some of these plants coming back online, how long the material might be out for and things like that. So I feel like there's always things happening that make AFPM exciting for one reason or another. So This will certainly be one of those. We touched on the ocean freight piece a little bit. Obviously, Javi just did some recon at the Panama Canal for us, so we got eyes on the ground down there. Obviously keeping a close eye on ocean freight, certainly a big concern.
Continue. Freights keep going up, and availability is getting tighter. So it's not a good combination for sure.
Yeah. I know we're looking at stuff from China, kind of post their holiday and whatnot. Seems like availability has been okay from what I've seen in terms of trying to get product over here for now at least.
Yeah, availability is okay, and lead times, although they are longer than usual, they're okay as well. You know, like if we place orders today, we're beginning of March, we're looking at early May arrival, so 8 weeks instead of the maybe 6 to 8 that we were seeing in the past. So not crazy lead times, but I think that could those could get extended as demand continues to pick up.
Yep.
Yeah, Europe as well. Pretty normal lead times, but Middle East, there's delays.
Yeah.
With the Red Sea issue.
Yeah, I guess long term, if that continues, that, obviously, because that's all sort of just happened in the last couple months, vessels have had to make emergency kind of move arounds and things like that. But obviously, the ocean freight lanes will the vessel companies will figure this out and figure out how to restructure their shipments and move vessels around appropriately. So see how things shake out. Also with China, I know we talked about the tariffs and the duties kind of on and off. The most recent tariff exemption was through the end of May. So obviously, as we talk about 8-week lead times, we kind of start to encroach on that. So, it'd be interesting to see if that continues to get extended. And obviously, we're in election year, so if that is better or worse for the tariff. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we're going to be bumping up against that next extension deadline. Hopefully, it gets extended again, so it keeps things nice and I guess less messy than they would be otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously within an election year, there could be changes. I know Trump announced that, he was floating maybe a 60% tariff if he gets in office. So that, as with any change in administration, there could be changes on that as well.
Yeah, I guess in the prior iterations of them extending the deadline, it's just a matter of what the administration was or wasn't going to do. But all of a sudden you throw an election cycle into the mix, and who really knows?
Yep.
Not that we ever really get that much lead time anyways. The last time was 4 days? It was 2 days before that. It'd be great to know now.
Yeah, plenty of time to plan. 4 days, that's plenty of time to plan. Yeah, it's great.
It's perfect. Javi, so you mentioned a separate Latin America trip that was
yes,
that was recent. So tell us about that. How's things down in that neck of the woods?
In Mexico, well, they beat China, so they beat China on their trade flow to the U.S. So they are very proud of it.
Sure.
They are. They say they got lucky because of COVID, but many administrations have been working toward that goal. Being the U.S. #1 trade partner. So there's a lot of pride for the Mexican people, and they're happy to keep working with the U.S. As #1 trade partner.
Sure.
And as for TCC, we have uptick in orders. A lot of samples, so the R&D people in Mexico are getting to work. They're working. The labs are working, so that's promising for us.
Sure. Yeah, and you were just down there visiting customers, some suppliers.
Visiting customers, suppliers, friends, music, everything. Sure. I was everywhere. And the traffic, I forgot how bad the traffic is.
Really?
It's horrible. Like 10 miles, 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So I had a 10, a 1, a 4, a 7. And it took me 1 hour, then 2 hours to go to the next place. It was just brutal. But I forgot how bad that traffic. It's getting worse, I think.
And that's obviously like Ubers and cars. Like, do they have like public transport, like trains and stuff?
Yeah, they do, but it's not sketchy.
Yeah,
sketchy to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, my Uber loves me. Uber loves me.
I believe it.
Uber loves me.
I believe it.
Yeah, but it's stuck in traffic. It's not good. But you do the emails and stuff like that, so it just.
They have like phone jacks in the cars.
Yeah, they have phone jacks. Yeah, they have phone jacks. And there's no much road rage.
No.
People are.
Well, if you can only go 2 miles an hour, you can only be so much rage.
Slow rage.
But yeah, it was good. It was good to see people, and everyone was to take pictures. Everyone's like, "Hey, Javi, let's take a picture," and like, "Okay, let's take a picture. Like, send it to your boss." I'm like, "Okay." So there's proof. There's proof that I was there.
Yeah.
You kept sending me pictures from lunch and stuff. I'm like, why are you sending me these?
Yeah. And they love the socks. They're like, this is great. They love the Adipic socks.
The
Adipic socks that you showed the last podcast. They this is great. Can you bring me more pairs? I'm like, yeah, next time. Sure. I mean, I had 2 for every person, so they were happy with the socks. They
Buy
were
some
like,
more Adipic. We'll make the socks.
Yeah. So that one is like, who the Adipic manager is AJ. So it's like, oh, take a picture for AJ. So that's where the picture comes from. Plus a few beverages we're going.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. We'll do them in Espanol. We do I Heard Adipico.
Adipico. I said, we should do that.
Yeah.
I love Adipico.
Yeah. I'm glad they're being well received.
Yeah. People are happy.
We gotta figure out what the next product we want to do is Adipic urea.
Let's look at the top 10 and figure it out from there. But let's keep that.
Yeah.
It's a closely guarded secret. Next round of socks.
Yeah.
Amongst other things, obviously, we always kind of keep an eye on the stock market, what the economy is doing. I know we've had some kind of internal finance and investing meetings. Obviously, something, Rob, I know you always enjoy keeping a close eye on. The S&P still remains strong, still above 5,000. I think we're waiting on some jobs data this week to see what the Fed's potentially going to do, and that'll obviously impact things for the rest of the year and new housing starts and all that fun stuff. But still in a pretty hot stock market around these days, huh?
Definitely. Fed came out this morning, kind of indicated that they're somewhat happy with the direction inflation is going and that unemployment is still staying relatively low. So two positives right there. It's just capping out right now. I mean, it's so high. We're seeing everything high, which we predicted. Even Bitcoin, I predicted that would go up, and we're seeing Bitcoin which is now just really another currency. That's all really Bitcoin is. Yep. Ethereum. These are all very interesting now because they're now able to be traded in ETFs. So we did our own internal. We want to teach everybody in the company not only how to invest in their career, but invest in themselves and share any information that we can. So we're still bullish on the stock market. Overall, the U.S. economy looks strong, and paying attention to the world. I've noticed a lot of green in the Chinese stock market lately. Delhi's still on a good run, all of India, and even the European stock markets are doing fairly well lately. So, as they say, tide rises, all boats rise together. So that's kind of given us the confidence to remain bullish.
That's a good line right there. That might be the headline of the title of this episode.
I think I screwed it up. So you might want to find the actual quote. Yeah. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's an interesting perspective. As everything gets better, everyone else gets better at the same time.
It does, and that's why I pay attention on a global, because really the weakness has been China. They're doing a tremendous amount I don't know if it's true, but I heard the other day that they're covering like 80% of the cost of freight, the Chinese government. Take it for a grain of salt, but that the exports are being so subsidized. Exactly. Thank you, Javi. They're being so subsidized that really, historically, China's been oil to underwear, meaning and everything in between. And they kind of took a step back from that and became this, futuristic society and more obviously better for the environment and things like that. Well, it seems like they're kind of falling back on that oil to underwear and export mode for survival now.
Sure. So the official quote is a JFK quote, and it says, "A rising tide lifts all boats."
Okay.
So
I think we're right.
Yeah. So there you go. So I was, but I think that's sort of why I'm saying the overall U.S. economy can still be strong is because we're starting to see these other, I call them theaters, rise with the tides. So
absolutely. I wonder, it seems like there's a pretty good international attendance at the AFPM, right? From meetings we got set up.
Yes.
I know the past couple have maybe been a little bit lacking. Maybe the last one was the first one that was kind of back to normal. But
the last one was back to normal, and now it's just full on.
Yeah.
Full on international.
Good sign.
I want to make one other point about the economy, and it has to do with Javier. Is one of the reasons why they say also our economy is doing very well is immigration, which is surprising. And there's obviously a lot of immigration from Mexico, and there's a problem with it as well. But that's one of the things that there's been a lot of discussion about lately is that, our overall economy needs immigration. Of course, we got to be much smarter about immigration, but it is helping the economy right now.
We talk about a labor shortage and people struggling to keep workers in plants and things like that. I mean, there's certainly an avenue for, obviously going the legal avenue, but there's people that want to work. And
in in the rising tide. If Mexico's rising, Canada's rising, our partners, our major trade partners are rising, it's really good for us. The automotive industry in Mexico is just, oh my gosh, it's like
Tesla
exploded.
is opening a plant in Monterrey, right? Yeah, Monterrey. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's already, you know,
All
Ram,
the
Dodge,
brands.
Mercedes, Chrysler. I mean, they're all down there, really. Toyota. I mean, it's massive down there, and that's good for us. It's a big part of what we supply into, so it's very important for us.
Sure, absolutely. We're obviously early March, and so we come into a season that AJ becomes very popular as we look at some of the seasonal products. We heard yesterday from an agricultural customer that obviously it's been a pretty warm winter as a whole, and I think exceptionally warm, March. So we're starting to see some spring demand for some of our ag customers, Dicey, NBPT, potassium acetate, some of these things that have been quite popular, and I think will be getting popular for the next couple of weeks here for you.
Yeah, it seems like with the weird weather we've been having everywhere, like I talked to somebody in the Chicagoland area yesterday, and they have, like a fall spring, so they're already talking about planting things a lot earlier than they usually would, So we're seeing strong demand from our typically spring planting type products. So it's been strong so far. We'll see how it shapes up.
Yeah, it was kind of good feedback because obviously we've seen some kind of emergency orders and people need more material. It's like, well, what's going on? That was kind of the feedback was that, with the weather and stuff, it's kind of been an early start to the spring. So
yeah,
be probably another topic for, I guess it's a little bit less for AFPM, but I'm sure there's still some folks down there that were talking about things like that. So
it's got bigger implications. There's I was out on this weekend with one of my sons in the woods, and we noticed like skunk cabbage coming up, and it was March 1st, and it's like, wow, this is really early. So everything's weeks ahead of time, as it has been in prior years. But the thing is that you're going to start seeing some extreme weather in the south from this earlier on, and of course we have to start talking about hurricane season. I mean, so we've been very lucky the last few years. So, I mean, it is only March, but, we're talking, we saw storms over this winter that were actual hurricanes, if you really looked at them. So there's been some extreme stuff going on. To AJ's point, the fire that happened in Texas was unbelievable last week. So, I mean, we got to pay attention. This has really impacted us in the past. I mean, that freeze a couple of years ago in Texas, unbelievable impacts on our industry. So it's an important topic.
Yeah, it's amazing how much some of that stuff, it's still, those years ago, it's still conversation. It's almost, people whether they have nightmares of it, or if you start getting another cold spurt down there, they start thinking back to that. Like it's amazing how stuff like that lingers. Kind of on a products note, one of the things we had on here to talk about is obviously a product we've supplied kind of on and off in the past, but that's been a real popular one these days is the TOFA that we do. Obviously, we heard this week that one of the two primary domestic producers in Javi had worked to shut down a plant. They had announced it kind of back in January, and I think that officially came offline. So that's been a really popular one. Obviously now the other domestic producer is the only one in the U.S. We're hearing they're booking out a couple weeks on some orders. So all of a sudden, folks are reconsidering imports. I know you've been looking at down to Mexico a little bit. And,
correct.
It's a good long-term partner of TCC on the supply side. So one that we're happy to talk about, happy to get samples and approvals and things like that. I think that'll be one that'll remain quite popular for the weeks and months to come, kind of as the year goes on.
Yeah. Tall oil fatty acid, not just the acronym TOFA, but it's peaks and valleys on that product depending on consumption of biofuels in Europe and things like that. But right now there is a unique opportunity, and we're here to take advantage of that for sure. And
I know that was something we did even before my time. I don't know. You'd obviously know.
Long time. We've been doing it a long time, and that's what I mean, peaks and valleys, because with the exit of a major here in the U.S., there's obviously a peak, there's demand, and it just happens to coincide with availability, which that doesn't always coincide very well. So we've seen demand in the past where biofuels were consuming so much of the raw materials there wasn't enough TOFA to go around. So it's the opposite of that. There is availability. We have availability. We're definitely being considered by really big users as a second source right now, and that's very exciting.
Yeah. We'll kind of follow along with some of the logistics talks we've had. We've obviously got our friends over at TLC coming on to give a little logistics update on what they're seeing, so we'll give it over to them. Morning, Joe. Morning, Jamie. How you guys doing?
Morning, Ben. How are you?
Ben. Guys always got the TLC swag going on. Makes the marketing half of me proud.
We're official.
Always branding. Always branding. Yep. What's happening? Anything good?
Good. Yeah. All things are good. Freight world is still jamming, busy.
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Absolutely. So
good. You were we were talking a little bit before we got started here that you're seeing a little bit of a kind of a mixed bag with results in the freight world. Some folks optimistic, some folks seeing the other side of the coin. What's happening in the freight world these days? It's first week of March. So we got 2 good months under our belt here. What's happening?
Yeah, I think especially for TLC, February was pretty solid. Kind of continued from January where we saw strong results. So knock on wood, hopefully that continues. Because last year, I think, as we were talking, we kind of saw February following up January kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I think a lot of people were looking around for some answers that unfortunately no one really had that crystal ball to find out what was going on. So
sure.
I think we're trending in the right direction and rebounding. I think we're still seeing, as we talked about in the last episode, contracted versus spot rates, kind of where that dichotomy is. And I think we're still seeing that the spot market is pretty strong. And I think a lot of carriers are leaning on that as a good indicator of where we're going. So
sure. Yeah, and you mentioned maybe some specific kind of sectors, or depending what kind of freight you're handling these days, maybe doing a little bit better, a little bit worse.
Yeah, so I think on the whole, you're seeing, some LTL companies are saying, they were up 20% or so in February. You're seeing others, especially in the full truckloads, the liquid bulk, might have started February a little bit slow. I think for the most part, most of them had a strong finish, but it's all, it'll deviate based on, what industries you're working with, how they're doing, and just in general, how different flows work.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good point thinking about last year too. I think January is always decently strong. You come back from Christmas break and New Year and all that fun stuff, and everyone needs some inventory here and there. But you're right, last year, thinking back on it, it fell off in February and kind of just stayed at those lower levels for the whole year. And, even on the TCC side, where I think we're seeing a lot of the same, that, January's pretty strong, February's pretty strong, and I think, March is looking pretty good to start too. So maybe a positive sign, at least for the first half of the year here.
Like I said, knock on wood, and I think we're going to be getting into the trade show and conference time of year. So that only means, again, get all those salespeople together, and we can conjure up some great ideas and hopefully get some POs out of the deal. But
that's the conjuring great ideas with TLC. It's like a Harry Potter movie with TLC.
There you go.
You were talking about freight rates a little bit. What are you guys seeing on some lanes? I know we've seen, some, at least for some of my customers, I've seen, freight rates improving, but I know in some of the long hauls, we've seen maybe some quite expensive freight rates. What's happening on some of the line haul rates these days, and how you guys seeing rates in general?
Yeah, I think, again, contracted versus spot, right? So regionally speaking, I think, especially in the liquid bulk realm, rates are only going up. I think fuel's kind of driving that a little bit. We're seeing kind of a steady uptick in fuel, so that will certainly dictate where the rates are going to be going. But overall, I think it's a good indication of where the market is in the capacity realm. If as rates kind of are ticking up, that only means that more stuff is moving. So it's not always great news to, it impacts everybody's bottom line, but it is good news in the sense that stuff is moving and hopefully we're seeing an uptick in overall business. So on the other side.
And as far as what particular lanes, I think we're going to continue to see every winter you have the northern states, the Northeast, usually those heading into the Northeast, heading north is usually more expensive, right? So I think we're going to see that start to flip around more into the spring, summer status of that, so we should get some better rates coming back south or north,
just in time for agricultural season.
There you go. Yep. There you go. Any better, any worse with some of the rail stuff? Is it kind of status quo? Any more demand, less demand? Has it been more difficult, less difficult, kind of moving stuff that way? Or
rail's been kind of status quo. I think some lanes, we're seeing a little bit more lead time on some of those shipments, but we might have, it's always plus or minus a few days, right? So it might be, plus a week right now, but some lanes that's not a horrible amount of time. It's just, it really depends on where it is, what lines you're working with. Some are moving better than others.
Texas, Mexico seems to be quieting down a little bit, so it's always positive news.
Yeah, that is. And then I think one of the big things to keep an eye on as we head, through the summer and heading into the fall is, I believe it's October, there's a labor agreement that's going to come up with the port workers on the East Coast mainly.
Okay.
I think it extends in towards Houston as well. So just something to keep an eye on, and any imports you might have. That there's a lot of ports that are on the list. I want to say it's Houston, New Orleans, Savannah, like Norfolk and New Jersey or something.
So just all the big ones, no big deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Perfect.
So just something to keep an eye on for. I think it's around October 1.
Okay.
But
sure.
As we've seen every year, we have these labor agreements. It seems just a never-ending cycle of who's threatening to strike now.
Yeah,
So-
right. And I guess along the same lines, I think even if you're not in the freight world, you've seen obviously the Red Sea and the Panama Canal and the Houthis and everything else going on. Do you continue to see issues with ocean freight? Is that, I know you guys, it's not a huge part of your business, but is that still something you guys are keeping a close eye on and seeing, issues with?
Yeah, I think from the import-export side, it's still something that is a big, banner item right now.
Yeah.
But something to really keep an eye on is everything coming from China. I think that has only started to see an uptick, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on going forward, obviously, with the tariff that makes some of that a little less favorable in the sense of importing. But, I think if you're kind of blowing that out 2, 3, 4 months, it's something to definitely keep an eye on. And I would say, as of right now, lock in whatever you can sooner than later, and hopefully you get your product.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it a little bit the last time we were on, but I think it just, again, will push towards, the Latin America, South America. I think a lot of that will remain very important for the next year or so.
Sure.
And, so a lot of that is shorter lead times too, so that could help from that standpoint. I think it's to go from, say, Brazil to New Jersey, I think that's like 12 days on the water or something. You're not looking at 2 months or so,
right,
as you might be from, Asia or the Middle East.
Sure. Yeah, no, we talked in the last episode. I think some of that news came out that Mexico took over China as the number one trade partner with the U.S. So, I think you're right. We'll see a lot of the Latin American regions, continue to be a big part of TCC's, or not just TCC, but the U.S. Supply and export business, because it's easier. Logistics is easier and quicker lead times. So it's early March, so before we see you guys again, we will see you down in Texas.
Yeah.
Coming up here soon, which is crazy.
San Antonio.
This will be, I don't know what number AFPM for you. I know it'll be your first AFPM, so big week down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Be busy. Yeah. Meetings are already stacking up, but got a few slots open for anybody that's still looking to get their freight moving. Should be good, exciting time.
Gonna be first AFPM is always a fun one. I remember thinking back and I was like, you don't really know what you're kind of walking. It's unlike any other show or conference or event that we really do. It's just kind of organized chaos, but you get a lot done. You have a lot of conversation in a short period of time. It's a lot of running around, but it's a lot of fun. I always really enjoy it.
It's always funny seeing people walk up and down the Riverwalk that you're, clearly going to or from a meeting, and you're like, you too, huh? All right. Yep. It's very identifiable.
Yep. Yeah, we go from the cool weather up here, and all of a sudden it's 82 degrees, and you're running around a suit jacket or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm quite prepared for that yet, but
yeah,
you never
we'll
really
see.
are. You never really are. Well, any final thoughts? Anything button up on the freight side these days?
No, honestly, lead times are everything. So, from a freight perspective, we always appreciate that, because that always gives us time to make sure that everything is, put out there in the most cost-effective, timely fashion. So that's no news to anybody, but from our side, that's always the best way to deliver anything we can.
Yeah, and I think I would just say that the other thing to keep in mind, whether you're purchasing chemicals, any shipping products, whatever you're doing, is just we talk a lot about these conflicts in the Red Sea or Asia, anything like that. A lot of the time, these conflicts create other opportunities out of them. So just, I guess you just kind of have to be on the lookout for those.
Sure.
An optimistic Jamie this morning.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like
very
it.
nice.
I can surprise you.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate the update as always, and we will see you down in San Antonio, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks,
guys.
bud.
All right, moving on. Price updates and trends. Obviously, I think the general trend is upward movement pretty much across everything.
Yes.
Oil and gas trickled up a little bit since the last recording we did about 3 weeks ago. But obviously we've seen rising benzene costs. We're seeing downstream, plasticizers moving up, butanol moving up, Adipic, some big increases the past couple days and weeks. So, I think the moral of the story is things are moving up.
Yeah, I don't see much in our world that isn't moving up.
Yeah.
Like not huge increases
Sure.
for the most part, but things are all trending upwards, So I think some customers are still, wanting downward pressure, but that's not a reality anymore. Raw materials are moving up, supplies are getting tighter, and it's driving prices up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I agree with AJ 100%.
you see a little bit of some public price increase letters, and maybe they're not all sticking 100%, but I think things are certainly moving up across the board.
Not just that. I mean, there's been catch up. So there was oversupply, lack of demand, and increasing costs. And they weren't fetching those costs because they had too much availability and they wanted to keep their orders and their order book full. And so now with unfortunate incidences, occurrences, geopolitical issues, weather issues, etc., I see our producing partner and our competitor producing partners and competitors starting to fetch those increases that they weren't able to get and get into the green. They've been operating in the red. Last year was, in my opinion, a chemical recession. We're now out of it. We're seeing even the values of our inventories rise where they were deflating last year. So, yeah, I think that, as AJ said, it's not massive increases. But people are really starting to pay attention to their supply chain, who they're buying from. They're not willing to gamble on buying at the lowest price from China right now. And the people that did that are paying for it at this point. So, and it could get worse, So there's always a yin and a yang. You're going to get the lowest price when you can take advantage of those things. But when the market shifts, you might pay it all back and then some.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're in a time where everyone's scrambling for every order they can get. Everyone wants to make sure they're keeping the plants running. So you're not going to, you shouldn't risk, trying to save a penny when you could end up potentially shutting the plant down or losing some orders or things like that you work so hard to get.
Exactly. We're at the point where if you have it, it's sold. Yeah. But a lot of people just don't have it because they opted for the lowest price and to gamble when, and I get it. Like people are in jobs where it comes from the top down, where they say just buy the cheapest you can get it, and you're paying for it now.
Yeah, for sure. Javi, you've been popular these days with some obviously managing a lot of products that have had some supply issues and whatnot. So
yes.
You've been a very popular. How's your WhatsApp these days? You
very busy.
Very busy.
Very busy for sure. Yeah, so we have a lot of material on the way, different products from Asia, Latin America, Europe. You name it. We have incoming shipments every week, and we keeping our friends and customers supplied. Sure. And secure supplies are the name of the game.
What are some of the most popular ones here the last couple of weeks?
Maleic anhydride has been very busy. Isophthalic acid, phthalic anhydride. Those that go to the UPR space. They've been very, very busy.
So we'll make sure we send you a WhatsApp, direct all.
Yes.
Phthalic and What's up, everybody?
For sure.
WhatsApp me.
Cool. Anything else on pricing? I think good time to buy, good time to stock up if you can, and really keep an eye on your supply chains here.
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, want to pay attention if you can get it. Sure. Again, like people are losing orders because they can't get stuff, and so we might have it in stock. The China stuff is interesting because of the delays, the Panama Canal, etc. Stuff that was not moving so quickly for us is gone. So that has an impact as well. So yeah, overall it's changed, considerably just from November, December, and usually that momentum is just starting. We're seeing the change, and so it could be a crazy spring and summer.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a busy March. That's for darn sure.
March, April, May, June.
Yes, very
in
much
terms
so.
of travel and work or
everything.
Okay,
everything. Yes.
That's a fact.
We're about when this episode comes out, it'll be about 2 weeks out from the AFPM.
Yep,
coming up fast.
I can't believe it. Rob booked his flights. Thank gosh.
Yes, I did.
Always waits till the last second. No, but yeah. I mean, it looks like they're between the meeting schedule, cocktail party RSVPs. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people down there, so. it's going to be a great time to connect.
Yeah, it seems like a well-attended AFPM, it's certainly getting back to kind of where it used to be in terms of, various parts of the world coming and companies coming and things like that. I know I'm sure a lot of companies still kind of monitoring costs and travel and all that good stuff, but it seems like it's going to be a well-attended one from everything we've seen.
Definitely. And we've got full golf, full party, full schedule.
Yep.
It's it's going to be a really busy 5-6 days.
It's always a good problem to have, I guess, when you're looking at a schedule and you've got 6 meetings at the same time spot and you got to figure out who's going where and where to place Rob and strategically in which meeting. So
we got a great team. We got most people don't need me at this point, which is great, and that's what we want.
We still need you.
More and more, they don't. You guys don't, which it's very impressive. But no, it's always good. I really love going there and seeing so many people. Just the cocktail party alone, I get to see so many folks at that, and old friends and new friends, and it's just and to see everybody in the company do so well there. I mean, we all really do have a good time despite it being work.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And we do still have, if you're not yet booked for the cocktail party, we'd love to have you. So we got a full cocktail party, but full, there's always room for one more.
So long as you're like at the AFPM.
Correct. Yeah.
We did have.
Yeah. Weren't there a couple of random people who who how did they even find?
I heard Taylor Swift wants to come.
She's in. She's the exception to the rule, I guess. People. I had to call some people because they registered with a Gmail. I'm like, hey, are you coming to the the conference? Or they're like, no, it just sounded like fun. I'm like, well,
I can't imagine scouring Eventbrite just to see random events that might be fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
Free cocktails. I mean,
I guess that's the motivation.
A good job promoting it when just random people want to come to your party.
I guess so. It's a good problem to have. I'd rather that than nobody want to come.
Absolutely.
Well, obviously we touched on some of the seasonal products here coming up, so I don't think we need to rehash it anymore. We did recently just have Steve Lewandowski from Chemical Marketing Analytics on the most recent podcast just before this one. So if you're streaming this wherever you're getting your podcast, scroll up to 104. That was a really good episode. He has a good perspective on kind of what's happening worldwide in different regions and raw materials and things like that. So if you haven't checked that one out, highly recommend it. It's only about a half hour, and there's some good clips on our LinkedIn and things like that. So check that one out if you have not already. Otherwise, obviously, we talked about AFPM. Was kind of the last bullet point I had. So any other final notes here for March?
Send your orders.
Send the POs.
Send the POs. What's on me? Book your meetings for AFPM. Yep. RSVP for the cocktail party. And let's have fun.
We're busy on, what do you have? You have a 7:30, I think, one day, right? 8 a.m.
Oh,
that's how you know Javi's busy.
Yeah.
We almost got robbed to join a breakfast meeting, but I think that got lost yesterday.
We'll see.
I'm not a breakfast meeting guy. I just
anything before 10 a.m. is I
need to do my yoga or something in the morning.
Your cold plunge.
Yes, exactly. The cold plunge, the yoga, something. But other than jump right into it. But if people didn't keep us up so late at night, I'd have no problem with breakfast meetings. It's just like you have to admit to yourself that you're going to be up till 11:30, 12 o'clock, likely, even if you don't want to be. Yep. So 6 hours of sleep is, I don't know, 5 hours of sleep, that's not much, 3-4 days in a row. Yep. So, but there's those breakfast guys. They always want to meet at breakfast, and I don't know.
Those are the guys that Irish goodbye the night before and aren't out until 11 p.m.
Yeah. AJ gets up early, but when he hits AFPM, he's staying up 12, 1 o'clock in the morning too, so it's got to be hard for him too. I like to get up early, but I'm going to bed at 9:30 at night, so.
Yesterday I went to bed at 8:30.
It must have felt great,
Amazing.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
If you could do that at AFPM, we could have all the breakfast meetings we want, So thanks for scheduling it that way, though. I mean, we have to admit, we're gonna have fun at night, So
it's a good time. Is the flow making an appearance at AFPM or what? What do we think? We keeping it going?
Yeah, like I was saying, I don't have a a salon to go to, I guess. I don't know if a barber can cut this kind of hair, but yeah, the flow is going to continue.
I love talking about the flow. You can tell it makes you uncomfortable, so we keep bringing it up.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. If you see AJ at AFPM and you're listening to this, make sure you tell him the flow looks good.
I may just shave my head just for that reason.
Straight, just keep the beard though. All right. Well, as always, we appreciate you for listening. Whether you are streaming the audio version or you're checking out the flow, courtesy of Kettle Bottom Creative and the video version here. We thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the April edition, which will no doubt do a little AFPM recap, kind of see what I think the April one's always a good one because it's kind of recapping what the general mood was at AFPM, what folks are saying. So stay tuned for that one. Come see us at the cocktail party if you're not already booked up, and catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, Ben.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Benny.
Material contained on this podcast is provided by the chemical company solely for informational purposes. The information is not guaranteed to be correct, complete, or up to date. The information in the podcast is intended solely as a general education aid. TCC is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of TCC policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by TCC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by TCC employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of TCC or any of its officials. All statements, comments, and opinions presented are made in the context of robust dialogue and freedom of expression. TCC assumes no responsibility for any consequence relating directly or indirectly to any action or inaction taken based on the information in this podcast. While TCC strives to keep the information in the podcast accurate, complete, and up to date, we cannot guarantee and will not be responsible for any damage or loss related to the accuracy, completeness, or timeliness of the information. TCC assumes no liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this podcast. The information contained on the podcast is provided entirely on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.